The great hall of the Nexus station had never been so quiet. Thousands of alien beings filled the chamber, their voices creating a low hum of confusion and concern, but all eyes were fixed on the empty seats at the front of the room. The human delegation chairs sat vacant for the first time in 300 years. Ambassador Day walked slowly to the central podium. His dark suit was perfectly pressed, his face showing no emotion. Behind him, a massive screen displayed the symbol of Earth and her colonies. The alien representatives leaned forward in their seats waiting. "The human race is leaving council space," Day said. His voice was calm and clear. "This is not a negotiation. This is not a threat. This is simply a statement of fact. Within 48 hours, every human ship, station, and citizen will depart. We thank you for the centuries of cooperation. Goodbye." The chamber exploded into chaos. The insect-like Chithrax clicked their mandibles in alarm. The glowing lumini pulsed with confused colors. The water-breathing Delphons created bubbles of distress in their floating tanks. "You cannot leave," shouted Counselor Vex, a Chithrax elder. "We have treaties. We have agreements." Day looked at him without expression. "We are breaking no treaties. We are simply choosing to go. We have that right. But why?" asked Lumine Speaker Prism. Her crystalline body dimmed with worry. "Have we offended you? Can we make repairs to our relationship?" "No offense was given," Day replied. "We are simply tired. Tired of being the ones who fix everything. Tired of being the ones who fight everyone's wars. Tired of being taken for granted. We are leaving to find our own path." He touched a button on his podium. The screen behind him changed to show long lines of human ships gathering at the edge of council space. Thousands of vessels, from tiny personal craft to massive colony ships, all moving in perfect formation. "Where are you going?" demanded another counselor. "Away," Day said. Then he bowed once, turned, and walked out of the chamber. The doors closed behind him with a soft hiss. Admiral Hana stood on the bridge of the flagship Determination. Around her, hundreds of officers worked at their stations. Every screen showed more human ships joining the fleet. Ships from Earth, Mars, the Jupiter colonies, the distant mining stations, all coming together. "All vessels reporting ready, Admiral," said her first officer. Hana nodded. She had spent 40 years in the Council's service, fighting their wars, protecting their borders. She had lost friends, family, her left arm in a battle against the void swarms. The metal replacement worked perfectly, but it reminded her every day of what humans gave for others. "Take us out," she ordered. "Maximum speed. Don't look back." The fleet moved as one. They passed the last council checkpoint without stopping. The alien guards watched helplessly as humanity departed. Captain Tay was the last one left. His defense station orbited a strategic point near the outer rim. For 15 years he had maintained this post, keeping watch for threats. The station's weapons had saved council worlds a dozen times. Its sensors had warned of dangers that would have killed millions. Now he walked through the empty corridors, turning off lights as he went. His crew had already departed on evacuation ships. Only he remained to shut everything down properly. That was the human way. Leave nothing broken. Leave nothing dangerous. He reached the main control room and began the shutdown sequence. One by one, the station's systems powered down. Weapons offline. Sensors offline. Life support entering standby mode. Captain Tay. A voice crackled over the communication system. It was Counselor Vex. "Please reconsider. This station is vital to sector defense." "Then you should have said thank you occasionally," Tay replied. He pressed the final button. The station's lights went dark. He picked up his bag and walked to his small ship. As he flew away, he looked back once. The station hung in space, dark and dead. Let them maintain it themselves, he thought. Let them see how hard it really is. Dr. Mina sat in her laboratory, surrounded by alien plants and data screens. She was old now, her hair white, her hands shaking slightly, but her mind was still sharp. She had spent 50 years studying alien biology, making discoveries that saved lives across the galaxy. Her assistant, a young Lumine named Sparkle, floated beside her. "Dr. Mina, you must go. The last transport leaves in 2 hours." "I'm not going," Mina said quietly. "What? But you must." Mina smiled sadly. "I'm too old to start over. My work is here. My friends are here. Let the young ones go build something new. I'll stay." Sparkle pulsed with distress colors. "But what will we do without humans? Who will help us?" "You'll figure it out," Mina said. "You're smart. You're capable. You just got used to having us do the hard thinking. She patted Sparkle's crystalline surface gently. Maybe that was our mistake. Maybe we helped too much. Outside her window, the last human ships were leaving orbit. Mina watched them go, feeling a deep sadness mixed with pride. Her people were finally putting themselves first. It was about time. The ships reached the edge of Council space and kept going. They moved into the galactic rim, where stars were sparse and space was dark. The Council sent messages begging them to return. They sent offers of better trade deals, better representation, better everything. The humans didn't reply. The fleet moved deeper into the unknown. Behind them, Council space continued its normal routine. The aliens told themselves everything would be fine. Humans were just one species among thousands. They weren't that important. But some noticed small problems starting. A jump gate malfunctioned and no one knew how to fix it properly. A diplomatic crisis between two species escalated because no human mediator was there to find a solution. A deep space relay went silent and stayed silent. Ambassador Day stood on the bridge of his transport watching the darkness ahead. Other ambassadors and politicians surrounded him. They had all given up their positions, their power, their comfortable lives. "Do you think they'll manage without us?" someone asked. Day thought about all the times humans had solved impossible problems, all the times they had worked through the night to fix a crisis, all the times they had fought and died to protect species that barely noticed them. "They'll try," he said. "They'll fail for a while. Then maybe they'll learn." The fleet moved on, heading toward a destination only the highest human leaders knew. Behind them, the Council continued to send messages. "Please come back. We need to talk. Let's negotiate," but humanity was done negotiating. They were done being the solution to everyone else's problems. They were going to build something new, something just for themselves. And if the Council fell apart without them, well, maybe the Council should have thought about that earlier. The stars grew dimmer as they traveled farther from civilization. But inside the human ships, hope burned bright. They were finally free. 6 months had passed since humanity left. The Council told itself everything was fine. They had managed for millions of years before humans arrived. They would manage now, but the cracks were starting to show. The first major problem was the trade routes. Humanity had maintained the vast network of jump gates that connected the galaxy. Every week, human engineers had checked the systems, replaced worn parts, and updated the software. They had done it so quietly that no one noticed. Now the gates were failing. Jump Gate 7 in the outer rim stopped working completely. Ships had to take the long route, adding weeks to their journey. Gate 14 started sending ships to random locations. 3 freighters arrived in completely wrong systems before the gate was shut down for safety. Counselor Bin stood before the Council, his human features looking tired. He had married a Lumini scientist years ago and chosen to stay when his people left. Now he was the closest thing to a human expert they had. "You need to understand something," Bin said, his voice heavy with frustration. "Humans didn't just fix these gates. We redesigned them. We optimized them. We wrote custom code for each one based on local space-time conditions. Your original gates worked, but they were slow and unreliable. We made them better. Now you can't even access the control systems because they're written in human programming languages." "Then teach us," demanded Counselor Vex. Bin laughed bitterly. "It would take years, maybe decades. These systems are complex. And that's just the gates. What about the hyperspace beacons, the defense platforms, the environmental systems on mixed species stations?" Humans maintained all of it. The Council fell silent. They hadn't realized how much humans had done. They had just assumed everything worked automatically. The second crisis came from the void swarms. These creatures lived in deep space, appearing randomly to attack anything they found. For decades, human military forces had kept them under control. Now the swarms were becoming bold again. A distress call came from Mining Station Kappa. The void swarms had attacked in force. The Council sent their best warships, confident in their ability to handle the threat. After all, they had been fighting wars for millions of years before humans existed. The battle was a disaster. The alien commanders tried to coordinate their forces, but nothing worked smoothly. Ships from different species used different communication protocols. Their tactics didn't mesh. When the Chithrax fleet tried to flank the swarms, the Lumine ships accidentally blocked their path. When the Delphon forces tried to use their sonic weapons, They disrupted everyone else's targeting systems. Humans had always been the glue that held mixed species forces together. They had translated between different military doctrines. They had coordinated timing. They had seen patterns and predicted enemy movements in ways the aliens couldn't understand. Now 17 warships were destroyed. Mining Station Kappa fell. 5,000 alien lives were lost. Admiral Gresh, a senior Chithrax military officer, stood before the council with his head lowered in shame. "We thought we were good fighters," he said quietly. "We are. But humans were better coordinators. They saw the whole battle at once. They knew what everyone needed to do. Without them, we're just separate fleets trying to work together and failing." Young Na, a human woman in her 20s, watched the news reports from her tiny apartment. She had stayed to finish her art degree at the prestigious Council Academy. Now she was one of maybe 100 humans left in council space. Her Delphon friend Wave floated in his portable water tank beside her. "This is bad," he bubbled nervously. "Everything is falling apart." "I tried to tell people," Na said sadly. "But no one listens to a student. Humans weren't special because we were smarter or stronger. We were special because we never gave up. You see a broken gate and think someone will fix it. We saw a broken gate and thought, I'll fix it right now. You see an impossible problem and accept it. We saw impossible problems as challenges. Can you help?" Wave asked hopefully. Na gestured at the news reports showing broken infrastructure and military disasters. "I'm one person, one artist. I can't fix jump gates or command fleets. The humans who could do those things are gone." The third crisis came exactly 7 months after humanity left. It started as a message, broadcast on all frequencies simultaneously. The message was in a language no one had heard before. It took the council's best linguists 3 days to translate it. When they did, terror spread through the council chambers. "We are the architects. For too long we have been held back. For too long we have been denied our rightful place. The wall has fallen. We are coming. You have 1 year to prepare. Submit or perish." Councillor Vex's mandibles clattered in confusion. "Who are the architects?" "What wall?" No one knew. The council searched their databases, asked their oldest species, consulted their wisest scholars. Nothing. The architects weren't in any historical records. No one had ever heard of them. Dr. Mina was working in her lab when General Sung arrived. He was one of 3 human military officers who had stayed behind. His Delphon partner had been pregnant and they couldn't make the journey with the fleet. Now they had a child, the only human Delphon hybrid ever born. "Mina, we need to talk," Sung said quietly. He looked around nervously. Somewhere private. They went to Mina's apartment. Sung activated a privacy field blocking all surveillance. Then he sat down heavily. "I need to tell you something," he said. "Something classified. Something I swore never to reveal. But if I don't, everyone is going to die." Mina felt cold fear crawl up her spine. "Tell me." "The architects are real," Sung said. "They're ancient. Older than any species in the galaxy. They exist in higher dimensions, in the spaces between reality. And humanity has been holding them back for 300 years, Mina stared at him. "What, how?" Sung rubbed his face tiredly. "It's complicated. Human minds work differently than other species. We dream differently. We think in patterns that stabilize reality. Every human alive was part of a network, a distributed consciousness we didn't even know we had. Just by existing, by thinking and dreaming and being creative, we anchored reality. We kept the architects from fully manifesting in this dimension. And now," Mina whispered, "now we're gone. The network is broken. The architects can come through." Sung looked at her with haunted eyes. "The council never knew. We never told them. It was classified above their security level. They thought we were just helping out of kindness. They never realized we were literally keeping them from being erased from existence." Mina felt the weight of the truth crushing her. "We have to tell the council. They won't believe us," Sung said. "Why would they? It sounds insane, but they had no choice." The next day, Sung stood before the council and explained everything. He showed them classified human files. He presented evidence. He laid out the truth about what humanity had been doing all along. The council members sat in stunned silence. Some didn't believe him. Others finally understood why humans had always seemed so focused, so driven, so unwilling to rest. They hadn't just been helping the galaxy. They had been saving it. Where did humanity go? Counselor Vex asked, his voice small and frightened. Can we bring them back? Sung shook his head. I don't know where they went. That information was kept from everyone, even military officers, and bringing them back? He laughed bitterly. Why would they come back? You used them. You took them for granted. You never said thank you. They left to save themselves. The council chamber descended into panic. Some species wanted to hunt down humanity and force them to return. Others wanted to try to replicate human consciousness in machines. Everyone was desperate, but deep in space, far beyond where council sensors could reach, humanity continued their journey. They knew what was coming. They had known for years, that's why they left. The council spent 2 weeks in chaos after General Sung's revelation. Some members refused to believe the architects were real. Others panicked. A few tried to pretend everything was normal. But reality itself was starting to prove Sung right. Strange things began happening across council space. Ships reported seeing impossible shapes in hyperspace, geometries that hurt to look at. Station sensors recorded readings that made no sense. Time moved differently in some areas, flowing backward for a few seconds before snapping forward again. On Station Theta, a Lumini engineer named Crystal watched her tools phase in and out of existence. She reached for a wrench and her hand passed through it like it wasn't there. Then suddenly it was solid again. She reported it to her superiors, who had no explanation. The second message from the architects came 3 weeks after the first. This time it appeared not as a broadcast but as words written in the air itself, visible to everyone simultaneously in every language at once. Your time grows short. Reality weakens without the human anchor. You cannot stop what is coming. Accept transcendence. Become one with higher dimensions. It is painless. It is beautiful. Resistance brings only suffering. Dr. Mina read the message from her laboratory window. The words glowed in the space above the station. Impossible and terrifying. Beside her, General Sung stood with his arms crossed. Transcendence, Mina said quietly. That's just a pretty word for extinction, isn't it? Yes, Sung confirmed. The architects don't see three-dimensional life as real. To them, we're like shadows on a wall. They want to free us by pulling us into their dimension, but we can't exist there. We just stop being. The council called an emergency session. Every species sent their leaders. Even the most distant colonies participated via hologram. The great chamber was filled beyond capacity. Counselor Vex spoke first. His voice was tired and defeated. We have consulted our best scientists. They confirm that reality is becoming unstable. The human effect was real. Without them, the architects will manifest fully within 8 months, maybe less. Then we bring humans back, said a Delphon admiral. By force if necessary. Impossible, Sung replied from his seat. You don't know where they went. I don't know where they went. Maybe a dozen people in human leadership knew the coordinates and they're all gone. Then we find them, insisted a Chithrax general. We send scouts in all directions. Space is big, Mina said, standing up. She was old and frail, but her voice was strong. Impossibly big. Humans could be anywhere in a sphere billions of light years across. You could search for 1,000 years and never find them. Then we replicate them, suggested Prism, the Lumini speaker. We build computers that think like humans. Artificial intelligences. Bin, the human engineer, shook his head. I've looked into that. It's not about processing power or programming. Human consciousness has a quantum element we don't understand. Something about how our brains developed, how we dream, how we imagine. You can't fake it with computers. The chamber fell silent. No one had any solutions. For the first time in council history, they faced a problem they couldn't solve. Young Ji stood in the back of the chamber. She was only 19, a human student studying xenobiology under Dr. Mina. She had stayed behind because her Chithrax mentor was dying and she couldn't leave him. Now she was one of the youngest humans left in council space. She had been researching in the human databases, looking for answers. What she found terrified and amazed her in equal measure. Excuse me, she said quietly. No one heard her. Excuse me, she said louder. The chamber fell silent, thousands of eyes turning to the young human in the back. I found something, Ji said, her voice shaking. In the old Earth databases, classified files from 50 years ago. She activated her datapad, projecting information onto the main screen. The projection showed plans, massive detailed plans for what looked like the largest construction project ever imagined. Multiple Dyson spheres nested inside each other. Quantum computers the size of planets. Consciousness transfer technology, what is this? Counselor Vex demanded. Project Ascension, G said. Humanity was planning this for 50 years. They weren't running away. They were running toward something. They're building a Matryoshka brain, a megastructure that can house uploaded human consciousness. They're going to transcend their physical bodies. Sung's eyes went wide. He hadn't known this part. None of the remaining humans had. Why? Asked Prism. Why leave their bodies behind? G pulled up more files. Because holding back the architects was killing them. Look at these medical reports. Humans were dying young, stress-related diseases, mental breakdown rates 3 times higher than any other species. Every human alive was unconsciously fighting a war in dimensions we can't even see. It was burning them out. She showed graphs of human lifespans dropping over the centuries, of mental health crises increasing, of a species slowly being crushed under a burden no one else knew they carried. They tried to tell us they were tired. Mina said softly, "We thought they meant normal tired. We didn't understand. So they left to save themselves," Sung concluded. They couldn't keep being our shield. It was killing them. So they found another way. The chamber erupted in debate. Some aliens were angry that humans had kept this secret. Others finally understood. A few argued that humans had a duty to sacrifice themselves for the greater good. Duty? Mina's voice cut through the noise like a knife. Everyone fell silent. The old woman stood, her body shaking with anger. Duty? Humans spent 300 years saving you. They fought your wars, fixed your machines, mediated your disputes, held back cosmic horrors you didn't even know existed. And what did you give them in return? Scraps, minor trade concessions. The occasional good job. She looked around the chamber, meeting alien eyes. My species was dying for you and you never noticed. You never cared. You just took and took and took. And now that we're gone, now that you're facing the consequences, you think you can demand we come back? That we owe you more sacrifice? The chamber was silent. Find another way, Mina said coldly. Humanity is done being your solution. But the council had no other way. Over the following weeks, they tried everything. The Chithraks built massive quantum computers, but they couldn't replicate human thought patterns. The Lumini attempted to achieve a group consciousness, but it didn't stabilize reality. The Delphons tried using their natural psychic abilities, but it wasn't enough. Meanwhile, reality continued to decay. More ships disappeared in hyperspace. More stations reported impossible phenomena. On the outer rim, an entire planet phased out of existence for 6 hours before returning. The people on it had no memory of the time that passed. The architects sent their third message 1 month before the deadline. This time it wasn't words. It was a vision, implanted directly into the minds of every living being in council space. They saw the architects as they truly were. Beings of pure mathematics existing in dimensions the three-dimensional mind couldn't process. They saw reality from the architect's perspective, where solid matter was just ripples in probability, where time was a direction like any other, where past and future existed simultaneously. It was beautiful. It was terrifying. It broke the minds of those who saw it. Thousands of people across the galaxy went mad from the vision. They couldn't reconcile what they had seen with their understanding of reality. Mental institutions overflowed. Suicide rates spiked, and through it all, the architect's message was clear. Submit, or we will take you anyway. G sat with Dr. Mina in her apartment, both of them recovering from the vision. G's hand still shook. Mina's face was pale. We're going to die, aren't we? G whispered. Mina was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, maybe, unless we can find humanity and convince them to help. Why would they? G asked. After everything we did to them? After we took them for granted? Because, Mina said slowly, that's what humans do. They help. Even when they shouldn't. Even when it costs them everything. It's their greatest strength and their worst weakness. She stood up, suddenly determined. We're going to find them. And we're going to ask, not demand. We're going to beg if we have to. And maybe, just maybe, humanity will remember that they once cared about us. In the council chamber, the same decision was being made. They would send an envoy to find humanity, not to threaten or demand, but to apologize and ask for help. It was their only hope. The council provided the fastest ship in the galaxy for the search mission. The vessel was sleek and powerful. equipped with experimental jump drives that could cross vast distances in days instead of weeks. They called it the Seeker. Dr. Mina stood in the ship's boarding area, her small bag packed with essentials. She looked old and tired, but her eyes burned with determination. Around her, the other humans who had stayed behind gathered. General Sung with his Delphon family saying goodbye. Young Ji clutching her research materials. Na, the artist, carrying her sketchbooks. Counselor Bin arrived last, his Lumini wife Shimmer glowing softly beside him. They had argued for hours. She wanted him to stay. He insisted he had to go. Why are all the humans going? Asked Prism, the Lumine speaker. Shouldn't some stay behind? No, Mina said firmly. This is a human problem to solve. If we're asking humanity to come back, we need to be the ones asking, not you. The council had loaded the Seeker with gifts, rare minerals, advanced technology, art and music from every species. But G had made them add something else. Medical supplies, therapy equipment, and apologies. Written apologies from every council member, admitting their mistakes. Do you really think you can find them? Counselor Vex asked. His mandibles trembled with worry. Reality had decayed further in the past week. Yesterday, gravity had reversed itself for 10 minutes on Station Omega. People had fallen into the sky before it snapped back to normal. We have to try, Sung said. He kissed his partner goodbye, hugged his child one last time, and boarded the ship. The Seeker launched, accelerating rapidly away from Council space. Behind them, the galaxy grew more unstable by the day. Ahead of them lay the unknown. On the bridge, G worked at a sensor station. She had spent weeks studying the departure patterns of human ships. They left quantum signatures, she explained to the others. Tiny distortions in space-time. Most species wouldn't notice them, but human ships always left these marks. If we follow them, we might find where they went. The trail led them toward the galactic rim, where stars grew sparse and darkness dominated. They jumped from system to system, following the faint traces of human passage. Days became weeks. The Seeker pushed its engines to the limit. They passed through empty regions of space where nothing existed but ancient red dwarfs and dead planets. The crew took turns sleeping and watching sensors. Na spent her time sketching the journey. She drew the loneliness of deep space, the tiny ship against infinite darkness. We're like a message in a bottle, she said, floating in an ocean too big to comprehend. Bin maintained the ship's systems, using his human engineering knowledge to keep everything running perfectly. I never realized how far out humanity came, he muttered. This is beyond the edge of mapped space. What are they doing out here? General Sung trained daily, keeping his body combat ready. He didn't expect to fight, but old habits died hard. At night, he dreamed of his family and wondered if he would ever see them again. Dr. Mina spent her time studying the architects. She reviewed all the data, all the visions, all the effects they had caused. They exist in higher dimensions, she told the others. To them, our reality is like a flat sheet of paper. They can see everything at once, past and future, all possibilities simultaneously. How did humans hold them back? Na asked. Human consciousness has a unique quality, Mina explained. Other species think in linear patterns. A leads to B leads to C. But humans think chaotically. You imagine impossible things. You dream in random patterns. You create without logic. That chaos somehow reinforces reality, makes it more solid. The architects can't fully manifest in a universe that refuses to follow their mathematical rules. G looked up from her sensors suddenly. I've got something. A massive energy signature ahead. It's like nothing I've ever seen. The Seeker dropped out of jump space and everyone rushed to the windows. Before them hung something impossible. A cluster of dead stars that weren't dead anymore. They burned with new fusion, wrapped in massive spheres of construction. And around those spheres were more spheres, and around those were more still. Layers upon layers of megastructures, each one larger than a solar system. A Matryoshka brain, Bin whispered in awe. They actually built it. The structure was beautiful and terrifying. It pulsed with energy, with thought, with life beyond anything they had imagined. Billions of humans lived within those nested spheres, their consciousness uploaded into digital paradise. A voice suddenly filled the ship's communication system. It was Ambassador Day, but changed. His voice had harmonics that shouldn't exist, layers of meaning in every word. We have been watching your approach for 3 weeks. We know why you have come. Welcome to new humanity. The Seeker was guided to a docking port on the outermost sphere. When they exited, They found themselves in a space that defied description. The walls weren't solid. They shifted between states, sometimes metal, sometimes energy, sometimes something else entirely. Captain Tay appeared before them, but he had no body. He was a pattern of light and thought, shaped into human form out of courtesy. "Follow me," he said. They walked through impossible corridors. Around them, humans existed in forms beyond physical. Some were clouds of data. Others were complex mathematical equations that somehow had consciousness. A few maintained humanoid shapes, but even these flickered and changed. "This is amazing," G breathed. "This is necessary," Tay corrected. "In physical form, we were limited. We burned out holding back the architects. Here, we are infinite. We can think at the speed of light, dream in quantum superposition, create entire universes within our mind." He led them to a central chamber where Admiral Hana waited. She appeared as a constellation, stars forming her shape. "You have come to ask us to return," she said. It wasn't a question. Dr. Mina stepped forward. "Yes, the Council sent us to beg for your help. Reality is collapsing without you. The architects will manifest fully in weeks. Everyone will die. Everyone except us," Hana pointed out. "We exist beyond physical reality now. The architects cannot touch us here." Mina nodded slowly. "So you're safe. You escaped. I'm happy for you, truly. After everything humans suffered, you deserve peace." "But," Hana prompted, "but there are still people back there." "Good people. Foolish people who took you for granted, yes. But also children who never wronged you. Artists and scientists and dreamers who just want to live. They'll all die because their leaders were idiots." The chamber filled with more human consciousnesses, thousands of them, appearing as lights or shapes or pure concepts. They were all listening. Mina realized this wasn't just a conversation. It was a debate happening across the entire megastructure. General Sung spoke up. "I stayed behind to protect my family. My partner is Delphon. Our child is the only hybrid ever born. Are they supposed to die because the Council was stupid? Because politicians took humanity for granted? That's not our fault," said a voice from the crowd of consciousnesses. "It was a woman named He, once a soldier. We gave everything. We died young protecting them. Why should we sacrifice more?" "You shouldn't have to," G said quietly. "You don't owe us anything. You paid your debt 1,000 times over." She pulled out her datapad, projecting images. "But I want you to see something. These are the children back in Council space. Mixed species families, kids who grew up knowing humans as neighbors and friends. They're going to die and they don't understand why." The images showed Chithrak's children playing with Lumini younglings, Delphon families swimming together, schools where a dozen species learned side by side. "We helped build that," Mina said softly. "That galaxy where different species cooperate, where children of all kinds play together. It's not perfect. The Council is full of fools. But the regular people, the normal citizens, they learned from us. They learned to work together." Bin added, "The Council loaded the ship with gifts to bribe you." But G made them add apologies instead. Written apologies from every Council member. "They finally understand what you did. What you gave up. They're sorry." The human consciousnesses debated silently, communicating in ways the visitors couldn't perceive. Time passed strangely in this place. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, Ambassador Day's voice spoke again. "We will vote. Every human consciousness will choose. Return to help the Council or stay safe in our paradise. It must be unanimous. The wait was agonizing." The debate within New Humanity lasted 3 days. To the visitors from Council space, time moved strangely in the megastructure. They slept in quarters that changed shape around them, ate food that appeared from nowhere, and waited. Dr. Mina spent the time talking to individual human consciousnesses. She met a scientist named Hak, who had uploaded himself after a long battle with cancer. She spoke with a teacher called Sion, who had died in a station accident and been uploaded from her backup. Each one had a story of sacrifice, of pain endured for species that barely noticed. "Why should we go back?" Hak asked. He appeared as a swirl of equations. "I spent 40 years maintaining life support systems on mixed species stations. I breathed toxic air, worked in extreme temperatures, all to keep other species comfortable. I died at 53 from exposure. Here I'm immortal. I'm free." "You are," Mina agreed. "And you earned that freedom. I won't tell you that you owe anyone anything more, but," Hawk prompted. Mina smiled sadly. "But I know humans. I've worked with your people for 60 years, and I know that even now, Even after everything, part of you wants to help. That's just who you are. Hawk was quiet for a moment. I hate that you're right. Young Ji met with Admiral Hana, the constellation of stars. Can I ask you something? Jai said nervously. When you were physical, did you ever regret helping others? Every day, Hana replied, her stars pulsing softly. I lost my arm in combat protecting a Chithrax colony. I watched friends die in battles that weren't our war. I missed my daughter's childhood because I was always deployed. Yes, I regretted it, but you kept doing it, because someone had to, and humans couldn't watch people suffer and do nothing. It's a weakness, really. Other species can ignore problems that aren't theirs. We couldn't. General Sung found Captain Tay in a simulation of Earth's Pacific Ocean. Tay existed as a pattern in the water itself. His consciousness spread through the waves. Sung sat on a virtual beach, his feet in the digital surf. Do you miss having a body? Sung asked. Sometimes, Tay admitted. I miss the taste of food, the feeling of sun on skin. But I don't miss the pain, the exhaustion, the knowledge that I was burning out year by year. Is it worth it? Living like this? It's different. Not better or worse, just different. Here I can think clearly without the constant pressure of holding back the architects. For the first time in my life, I'm not tired. Sung nodded slowly. If we go back, we'll be tired again. Yes. And we might die doing it. Yes. But we're going to vote yes anyway, aren't we? Tay's pattern in the water rippled with something like laughter. Probably. Because we're humans, and we're idiots who can't ignore people in danger. Now the artist spent her time sketching the megastructure and the beings within it. She drew Hana as a constellation, Day as a geometric pattern, Tay as living water. Her art was seen by millions of uploaded humans, spreading through their networks at light speed. One consciousness, a former farmer named Juan, approached her. Why do you draw us? Because you're beautiful, Na said simply. You transformed yourselves to survive. You became something new. That's the most human thing possible. We always adapt. We always change. We never accept that things have to stay broken. One appeared as a field of growing data wheat, rippling in virtual wind. The council thinks we're weapons, tools to be used against the architects. Some do, Na admitted, but others are learning. My Delphon friend Wave, he understands now. He tells everyone about how humans held back cosmic horrors while maintaining jump gates and mediating trade disputes. People are finally seeing what you did. Too late, one said bitterly. Yes, Na agreed. Too late for the humans who died young. Too late for the ones who burned out. But maybe not too late for the species who are learning from your example. Counselor Bin worked with the megastructure's systems, marveling at their complexity. The uploaded humans had created computational substrate that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. It was engineering beyond anything physical species could achieve. He met his old friend Tay. You could rebuild the entire galaxy with this technology, Bin said in awe. We could, Tay agreed. We could solve every problem the Council has. But should we? They need to learn to solve problems themselves. They're trying, Bin said, but they're failing. Without humans, they're lost. Then maybe they shouldn't have taken us for granted. The third day arrived. The human consciousnesses gathered in a virtual space, billions of minds connecting as one. The visitors from Council space were brought to observe. Ambassador Day spoke, his voice echoing through dimensions. We have debated. We have considered every angle. Now we vote. Do we return to help Council space, knowing it will cost us our peace? Knowing we might have to sacrifice again? Knowing they may take us for granted once more? The vote happened instantly. Billions of minds making their choice simultaneously. The result appeared as a percentage floating in the void. 98.7% in favor of returning. Admiral Hana's constellation brightened. The humans have spoken, we return, but this time, things will be different. The Seeker departed new humanity with an escort unlike anything ever seen. Ships of pure thought, vessels made of solidified consciousness, craft that existed in multiple dimensions at once. The human fleet had transcended physical limitations. They traveled faster than light, faster than thought, crossing the distance back to Council space in days instead of weeks. As they approached, Admiral Hana contacted the Council directly. We are coming, she said. But understand this, we are not your tools. We are not your soldiers. We are not your convenient solution. We are a sovereign people who are choosing to help. This time we will have a real seat at the Council. This time you will treat us as equals. This time you will say thank you." The council agreed immediately. They had no choice. The architects would manifest in 3 days. The human fleet spread out across council space. They moved to the points where reality was weakest, where the architects were breaking through. At each location they began to work. Dr. Mina watched from a council observation station as humans reformed the barrier. They didn't do it the old way, spreading themselves thin, burning out their consciousness. This time they built structures, quantum anchors that extended from the megastructure across light years of space. They used their technology, their transcended nature, to create a permanent solution. "They're not sacrificing themselves," G observed with relief. "They found a better way." "Because they had time to think," Mina explained. "In physical form they were too exhausted to innovate. Now they can actually solve problems instead of just holding them back." The architects pushed against the new barriers, testing them. Reality buckled and strained. For a moment it seemed like even transcended humanity might not be enough. Then Ambassador Day did something unexpected. He opened a channel to the architects and spoke to them directly. "We know what you are," Day said. "We know you see three-dimensional life as incomplete, as shadows that should be freed. But we don't want your transcendence. We like existing in 3 dimensions. We like having form and substance, and we're going to keep existing this way whether you approve or not." The architects responded in mathematics and concepts beyond normal comprehension, but Day translated for the council. "They say we're prolonging the inevitable. That all matter will eventually transcend to higher dimensions." "Maybe," Day replied to the architects. "But not today. Not this century. Not this eon. These people get to choose when and how they transcend if they ever do. You don't get to decide for them." The architects pushed harder. Reality screamed under the pressure. But humanity pushed back. Billions of uploaded consciousnesses working in perfect harmony, creating a wall not of flesh and exhaustion, but of quantum architecture and transcendent determination. Slowly, the architects retreated. Not defeated, but held back. Contained. Delayed for another age. When it was over, the galaxy breathed again. Reality stabilized. Time flowed normally. The impossible geometries faded. Admiral Hana addressed the council from her constellation form. "We have re-established the barrier. But this is not a permanent solution. In 1,000 years, maybe 10,000, the architects will try again. You need to be ready." "How?" Counselor Vex asked. "By growing. By learning. By not depending on others to save you." Hana's stars pulsed with emphasis. "We will help you. We will teach you. We will share our knowledge. But you must become stronger yourselves." The council agreed to new terms. Humanity would have 5 seats on the council, equal to any other major species. They would be consulted on all major decisions. Their contributions would be recognized and rewarded fairly. And most importantly, they could say no. If the council asked for help and humanity refused, that refusal would be respected. Months passed. New humanity remained in council space but kept their megastructure at the galactic rim. Some humans chose to return to physical form, using cloned bodies that wouldn't burn out the way their old ones had. Others remained as digital consciousnesses, working through drones and avatars. Dr. Mina, now considered a hero for her role in bringing humans back, retired to a small station orbiting Earth. Young G took over her work, studying the intersection of physical and digital consciousness. General Sung returned to his family, who welcomed him as a hero.